What's good, YouTube? It's Joey, and today, are you not entertained, fellas? We're coming with the season predictions. The Minnesota Viking, or actually, the NFC North season predictions. Like and subscribe. Join my Discord. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. I need more of you guys in there. But anyways, we're coming with these predictions, man. Vikings, Bengals, week 1. We're going to predict the Vikings, Packers, Lions, and Bears. So the Vikings, Bengals, week 1. I got to take the Minnesota Vikings here, I think, because assuming Danielle Hunter is back healthy and ready to go, I think they can get interior pressure with Dalvin Tomlinson and Michael Pierce coming back. And I think the Vikings offense is going to outduel the Bengals offense because of the Bengals offensive line. And I don't think they're going to be able to get enough pass rush onto the Vikings. I mean, the Bengals did sign Trey Hendrickson, and they lost Shaq Lawson, but I mean, I think that the Vikings just have so much offensive power, firepower with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. They just got so much there. They got Darrisaw. They improved their offensive line through the draft. I like the Vikings, although I could see the Bengals coming out with this win with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase now, and against those corners, those receivers and those corners, that's a mismatch. But again, it's just that Bengals offensive line, I'm just not a huge fan. But the Vikings, I think they just barely squeeze. I think it's going to be a shootout kind of type game, but I like the Vikings there. Now, Cardinals versus Vikings. You have Patrick Peterson facing his former team where he became a legend there. This one's interesting, but I think, don't call me biased, but I think the Cardinals are going to win this one. I don't think it's a good matchup for the Vikings. Just let me explain. I think where the Vikings do mismatch with the Cardinals is the receivers on the corners. I think Malcolm Butler is still a good corner, veteran, good, solid number 1 corner. He had a great year last year. Is going to allow some completions, but he's good pass breakups and interceptions, bringing it back. But the rookie Marco Wilson or Robert Alford is going to have to start at that second place, and Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, that might be the thing. But I think a Chandler Jones and a J.J. Watt in that front, and also Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons getting in there, I think can stop their run. And the Vikings run to set up the play action, I think we can slow down Dalvin Cook and Buda Baker in there in the safeties. I think the Cardinals got a lot of defensive talent, and offensively, I think DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore can really outmatch those Vikings defensive backs. And I think that Kyler Murray is going to be a mismatch for that defense, and Zimmer's defense is kind of outdated. So I think the Cardinals just have a lot of star talent. I could see this going either way, but I think the Cardinals are going to outscore the Vikings. I trust the Cardinals defense as of right now more than the Vikings. It's a tough one, go back and forth, but right now I think the Cardinals are going to pick up that win. No bias, all right? I'm trying not to be biased. Vikings Seahawks. Now this one's interesting. It's in Minnesota. I mean, the Seahawks and Vikings always have these classic games. Which one do I pick though? I think I'm gonna go Vikings. I think it's this one's gonna be surprising to you, but those Vikings corners though, they're gonna have problems with DK Metcalf and stuff. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. Both teams, both secondaries are in a struggle. With the corners, the Seahawks lose Shaquille Griffin and Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen are going to be a problem. Quarterback definitely goes to the Seahawks. I think the Vikings definitely have a better offensive line, and I mean that Seattle defense was playing better down the stretch, but I think the Vikings can stop the Seahawks run. They're going to become a run-first team because they're not going to let Russ cook anymore. I just think the Vikings are going to squeak this one out. It's in Minnesota. It's not in Seattle. If it was in Seattle, it might change some things, but I'm going to go as a surprising pick. I'm going to go Vikings. Here, Browns, Vikings. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns. I think it's just a mismatch. The coach, Kevin Stefanski, I out coaches Mike Zimmer. I mean, he's just won Coach of the Year last year. I just love his scheme. Um, Running the ball, setting up the play action. I think that Browns offensive line is going to dominate that Vikings front. I think they're going to have trouble running in the interior because Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson are really good. But I think Baker will have time to throw. OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, they're going to get open. And defensively, the Browns added a lot of talent. They got JOK in the draft. Oops. They got JOK in the draft. They got what's his name? Greg Newsome, who I really like out there opposite of Denzel Ward, and they add Troy Hill, so their cornerback room is really good. So I like that, and then they have John Johnson in the secondary. So I think that secondary is really underrated and could be really good. And they have a good front. Myles Garrett, maybe Jadeveon Clowney can bounce back. So I think the Browns have a lot of talent and are one of the more talented rosters in football. And I think they're just going to beat the Vikings. Now you have the Lions, Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings. The Lions are just so stripped of talent. They just Jared Goff. I mean, they did have a good draft though. They got Penny Sewell, but they just don't have. They got Ross St. Brown at the draft. They have a really good offensive line. That's a strength. So that could be really good for Jared Goff. But I just don't like the quarterback head coach combo. They still have holes on defense, and I think the Vikings are going to have an easy time scoring. And I don't think the Lions have enough firepower as of the weapons on offense, TJ Hawkinson, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep up, and I think the Vikings are going to take that one. So far they're 3-2, and they're going against the Panthers. Another game that should be a shootout. Oh, what team do I go with here? The Vikings or the Panthers just got J.C. Horn. They have Jeremy Chin, who was really good last year. They got Reddick, Derek Brown. I think that Panthers can, take this one here because I think their defense is coming along quite underrated. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore. I think the real mismatch is I just like the Panthers secondary a little bit more than the Vikings secondary because of because they drafted J.C. Horn. They got Dante Jackson, Jeremy Chin. I think the Panthers are just going to outscore the Vikings. They're an up-and-coming team, and I think the Sam Darnold reuniting with Robbie Anderson too is going to give them firepower, healthy CMC. I think the Panthers are going to beat the Vikings in an entertaining game. So then you have the Cowboys versus the Vikings, both off a bye week. Ooh, who do I take here? Oh, and this one's going to be a shootout, but I'm going to take the Vikings just because the Cowboys are just going to be so dependent on offense and win shootout after shootout after shootout. And I don't think this is going to work. The Vikings are just going to score a lot of points. They're going to be able to run the ball easily. They're going to have be able to set up the play action and be successful in the pass game. And I think that's going to be – the Cowboys got Micah Parsons. They brought back Dak. It's going to be a shootout, but I think the Vikings have enough defensive guys like Danielle Hunter, Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, Anthony Barr, Patrick Peterson. You got him as a veteran in that corner group. Maybe the corners can develop. I think the Vikings just will have more defensive talent than the Cowboys to win this game. Now, Vikings Ravens. I think the Ravens win this one. I think it's a good matchup for the Ravens because Ravens getting better in the receiving core. Rashad Bateman they drafted. I really like that pick. They got Sammy Watkins. I like that signing, and then Hollywood with Mark Andrews. So Lamar Jackson is better off now with his weapons. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Vikings defend Lamar. But that defense with the Ravens, I like the secondary with Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. So I think they're going to be able to slow down the Vikings offense. That pass rush is going to be a little concerning, but they address edge rush in the draft. So Patrick Queen's a good developing young guy. So I like the Ravens here to win this game. Then Vikings Chargers. Ooh, this one's interesting. I think the Vikings can score points throwing, but Justin Herbert and that team is going to have a lot of time to throw. I think the Chargers are going to put up a lot of points. Another game that I can see as a shootout, but the Chargers had a really good draft. They really did do a good job fixing their offensive line. The receivers with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and I think that's going to be too much Austin Eckler for that Vikings defense. I like Justin Herbert to outduel Kirk Cousins. I like the coaching matchup, Brandon Staley, to figure out something on defense to slow down this Vikings offense. So I like the Chargers versus the Vikings. Oh, Packers versus Vikings. I'm just going to do these record predictions, assuming Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback. And as we get closer to the season, if Aaron Rodgers leaves and we have a new starter, like probably Jordan Love, then I'll redo the Packers predictions entirely. But as of right now, Aaron Rodgers is still the starter. So I'm going to do this as if Aaron Rodgers was starting. So Bakhtiari should be back for this game. I think the Packers are probably going to win this one. Devontae Adams, I think the Devontae Adams could have a big game. The corner mismatch, they're going to have to double him. But then MBS and Amari Rodgers and Lazard and Tunyon can all get open. I mean, I don't think the Vikings have a good enough pass rush to disrupt Rodgers. And the Packers are really good developing their offensive line and running the ball. And then I like the coaching matchup with LaFleur on Zimmer. They might split. They split last time because Dalvin Cook absolutely ripped apart, absolutely destroyed the Packers' run defense. But if you watch the Packers' run defense, towards the end of the season, they got better and they got Daryl Slayton to play alongside Kenny Clark. We have young linebackers like Kamal Martin, Chris Barnes in there. We got another one in the draft too, Kingsley Keke. So I mean, Dalvin Cook might be a mismatch, but I think the Packers have so much star talent. Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes. I mean, it should be an interesting game. I just think the Packers just have more talent and just a better team and a better coaching staff, assuming Rodgers is the starter. Then Vikings versus the 49ers. This one's tough because the 49ers like to run the ball and do the play action. I think Eric Kendricks would have to be put on George Kittle. I think that the two big boys, Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, could help stop the run up front. The wideouts, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, they need to stay healthy. We don't really know what we're going to get out of them for sure. But the outside matchups, I think, would kind of favor the Niners. But I like the coaching matchup in favor of the Niners. Trey Lance is going to be the starter. And then defensively, you got Nick Bosa and uh, that strong defensive front coming at you. The secondary might be a problem. I just think the 49ers are going to find a way to stop Dalvin Cook and to score on the Vikings because Kyle Shanahan's just that brilliant mind, and you combine him with Trey Lance's abilities, and it's going to be a combination that rules the NFL for some time. So I think the 49ers win this game, assuming they're healthy. Now, if they're in all wheelchairs, then I don't know, man. But here, Vikings versus the Lions again. I think the Vikings can get a clean sweep of the Lions this year. Um, the Lions have a good offensive line, but again, the Lions don't have enough firepower on offense to my liking. I think the Vikings can beat the Lions there. Then the Steelers versus the Vikings. This one's interesting. Big Ben's still the starter, but that offensive line is still in shambles. I don't think the Steelers are gonna put enough points up. Their defense, I think, could hold ground for some time, but it's gonna be an ugly game. I think it's gonna be kind of a little bit of a mid-scoring game, but I think the Vikings can just run away with it. Um, then the Bears versus the Vikings. Who do I pick? Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Justin Fields now in the mix for the Bears. The Bears got, I'm trying to think that right tackle, Tevin Jenkins. I'm pretty sure they did a good job addressing their line. The Bears could be scoring some points now. But they lost some talent on defense. That secondary, I'm iffy on that secondary now. I think the Vikings and the Bears split. I like the Vikings here, but I'll take the Bears there because I think the Bears can. They addressed their offensive line needs, and Justin Fields has Robinson and Mooney. They Justin Fields could be something, but Matt Nagy's play calling again, I don't like that. But I feel like they're gonna split though. And then the Rams versus the Vikings. I'm gonna have to take the Rams. I mean, the Rams lost talent on defense, but as long as Jalen Ramsey, they still got Darius Williams. They got Aaron Donald. They got speed on that team now. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are the route runners, but Tutu Atwell and Deshaun Jackson are really speedy. And I think they're going to be able to score with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. They lose John Johnson, which is a blow. They lose Troy Hill, which is a blow. It could be a higher scoring game, but I think Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey can stop the Vikings enough, disrupt Cousins enough. They get back Leonard Floyd. I think the Rams are going to be able to pull through. And then Vikings Packers week 17 in Lambeau Field. Who comes away with it? No bias, but I just got to go Packers again. I just think the Packers, outside of the run game, match up well with the Vikings. And I think Joe Barry is does specialize in linebackers and is going to play the run more versus teams. And our run defense got better last year. It did down the stretch. So we already seen Dalvin Cook. We just got to play. And Dalvin Cook might not even be healthy towards the end of the year. He's had injury history. So we got the Vikings going 7-10 with the 18 weeks. You know, they could go a lot better than this, but it's just a tough schedule with a lot of games that could go either way, but they have a tough schedule. This schedule is not easy for the Vikings. Bay Packer, actually, Yeah, let's just do the Packers right now. So I'm doing these predictions again, assuming Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback. So assuming that Packers versus Saints, I got the Packers here. The Saints lost a lot of talent and they did not have a good draft and they didn't really have a productive offseason. They lose Drew Brees, Jameis Winston in his first game. I don't think that's going to go really well. The Packers get turnovers. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Turner, Cam Jordan. I mean, they lose Trey Hendrickson, but I think the pass rush might be a little bit of a problem. But I think the Packers are going to find success in that pass game because the Saints secondary is a little bit depleted. And Jair can lock up Michael Thomas, and then like the rest of the receivers are going to have to step up. So I think the Packers can win comfortably. Week 1 versus the Saints. And then week 2, Packers Lions. I think is another easy win for the Packers because the Lions, again, they're not going to be doing so hot this year. That offensive line could allow for Jared Goff to do some things, but Rashawn Gary, Zadarius Smith, Kenny Clark, uh, Kingsley Kiki, I think they're going to be able to rush the passer to get enough pressures to get it done. But the receivers secondary matchups and mismatch. The Packers secondary is much better than the Lions' weapons, and they could be able to run the ball, but the Packers are just going to be able to score so many points on the Lions' defense. I think it's just going to be an easy win. Now, week 3 versus the 49ers. Oh, man, we already saw this. The 49ers, I think, are going to win. They might get the upset. If they're healthy week 3, um, Trey Lance running the ball with Mostert and those boys like that, that's going to be an issue. George Kittle, that's going to be a mismatch. And then their defense, I mean, there's no more Sherman, but they have Verrett when healthy. He's actually a pretty good cover corner. Fred Warner in the middle. Uh, their ferocious front. If Bakhtiari's not back by this time, this might be a little concerning. So I don't know. I mean, the Packers could pull this out. They could, but the 49ers are just really good up front. And I'm just going to go with the upset here. Something tells me and it's in San Francisco. And when we travel up to the West Coast, it's usually not favorable. So I'm going to go Niners there. Steelers, Packers for week 4. I'm going to go Packers. Again, the Steelers, I don't really trust they have enough offensive firepower. Ben Roethlisberger is aging. Najee Harris doesn't have that good of a offensive line to run behind. They wasted a draft pick on Pat Freiermuth when they could have gotten offensive lineman. And then just for those reasons, that defense could do enough to slow down the Packers. But assuming Bakhtiari is back at this time, developing guys on the offensive line, I think the Packers should be fine there to take that win. And then they get another win here versus the Cincinnati Cincinnati Bengals because Zadarius Smith and Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark and Kiki are all going to wreak havoc on Joe Burrow. I don't think the receivers are going to have enough time to separate. They might try to run the ball with Mixon, but I don't think that's going to work out really well. The coaching staff out coaches the Bengals. And then you have the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is going to have some time to throw. And I don't think the Bengals are really equipped with the proper roster there. So then the Packers play the Bears. Ooh, this one's tough, actually. The Bears could split with the Packers, surprisingly, but the Bears just are losing a lot of talent on defense. They still have Khalil Mack. They still have Akeem Hicks, so that might be a little bit of an issue. But as we saw last year, the Packers just absolutely destroyed the Bears' defense. And then Justin Field, I feel like Jair's done a good job on Allen Robinson, and Stokes' speed can match up with Moody's speed, uh, and stuff. So I don't know. The Bears fixed their offensive line, but Matt Nagy's not a good play caller. So I just got to go with the Packers. Football team. Now this one could be a surprise upset because of that ferocious front seven. Um, and the Packers' offensive line may not be as good as it was last year. Um, and we're probably going to be struggling to run the ball up the middle. Plus, they got the corners with Kyle Fuller and William Jackson, and they got Kamen Curl, who's a young rookie safety. And they also got better receivers now with McLaurin and out Curtis Samuel. That offensive line is still a concern for sure, but Fitzpatrick knows how to play behind a bad offensive line and move around and throw. I don't. It's just like I think the football team's defense is just gonna cause problems for the Packers, similar like the Buccaneers last year in Week 6. I just that offense though. That offensive line for the football team is going to be their one downfall, but it's just like the football team's pass rush combined with their secondary, I think, can handle the Packers there. Then Cardinals Packers. It's in Arizona. Who wins this game? It's going to be interesting to see how the Packers handle Murray. But Jair versus Hopkins is going to be something to watch. I think the Packers wide receivers can score on the Cardinals, but that Cardinal pass rush might be a problem with those two inside linebackers, a stronger front seven. I think that could do well, but the Matt LaFleur on Steve Keim coaching difference could be the difference here. And then the edge rush, the pass rush for the Packers. Murray's going to have to move around, but they could run the ball well. I'm just going to go with the Packers here. I think because I'm just feeling the Packers. I think they can outcoach the Cardinals. I don't know how the Packers are gonna do versus a mobile quarterback, but I think they got Jair to lock up D Hop, Eric Stokes on Rondale Moore, the speed versus speed. Um, but I think the Packers can definitely pull this one out on the road. Then it's versus the Kansas City Chiefs, man. The Chiefs' offense is going to be so good because they fixed their O line now. Mahomes is just going to have time and time and time to throw. Find Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey. But it's like if Jair could do a good job and Joe Barry could get a scheme to kind of double Tyreek and kind of mimic a Tampa Bay style of defense on them, that would be pretty interesting to see how they fare uh, like that. And then you look defensively, um, could Legere Sneed step up big time to cover Adams, or would they have to double team that? Chris Jones and Frank Clark, is that enough to get after the quarterback? It's going to be a tough one. Andy Reid and uh, Matt LaFleur squaring off here, but the Chiefs could just pound the ball, chew clock, take time away, and the deep ball with Hill and Kelsey underneath. Oh man, that's going to be an interesting one. The I'm going back and forth with this one, man. I don't know who to pick. Um, I I really want to say Packers, but something's telling me Chiefs. Oh, what the heck? Please save this. All right. Um. Oh, I feel like it's going to be the Packers. I don't call me a homer, don't call me biased, but I think the Packers have that speed in the secondary to at least slow Tyreek, and the Chiefs not really having another reliable second or third option at receivers concerning. Now Travis Kelsey might have a good game with the mismatch there, but that's the concern. The Patrick Mahomes having a good O line, but right tackle's a concern. But I think the Packers match well with the Chiefs defense, and Aaron Rodgers could beat Mahomes in the shootout. Seahawks Packers. Can I? If there's an ad right here, it's really annoying. I can't get rid of it. But I picked the Packers, as you can see. No bias, but I think the Packers just match up really well with the Seahawks because the Packers can get after the quarterback and disrupt what Russell Wilson is doing. So Packers are going to beat the Seahawks there. Then the Packers versus Vikings, we already talked about that. I think the Packers roster just matches up well with the Vikings, and their coaching staff outcoaches them. I think they're going to win that. Ooh, Rams versus Packers, though. Another rematch of the last year's playoff game. Um, Most of the Rams' pressure comes from the interior, and I think the Packers are going to be ready for that. Joe Barry can take away some stuff from the Rams. LaFleur schemes some stuff up. The Rams lost talent on defense, but their offense could put up some points. I'm just here to say that, but I think the Packers could get pressure on Matthew Stafford. I'm gonna pick the Packers because the Rams losing talent on defense. I'm just really concerned about that for them, and not enough people are talking about that. And you saw the playoff game last year. The Packers just easily scored on them. So the Rams losing John Johnson and Troy Hill and Brockers and stuff like that, that's going to be concerning. But they get Matthew Stafford, but it's just like that offensive line. It's solid, but I'm pretty sure the Packers can get some pressure there. And it's in Lambeau Field. Um, then week 14, Packers off a bye at home. They don't have to travel off a bye. If they had to travel off a bye, that would be bad. But I think they can win here. Another team that lost a lot of defensive talent in the Bears. They lost Kyle Fuller. They have Khalil Mack off the edge, Akeem Hicks. But their secondary is looking pretty weak. They fixed their offensive line. They got a quarterback. But the Packers defense can slow that down. They have a lot of talent. The Packers have a lot of talent on that roster. I think they're going to beat the Bears. But I think they're going to lose to the Ravens because, Rodgers is going to have time, but there might be some coverage sacks because of the Ravens secondary. It's good. And I think that front can slow down the run game. So I think that front is just good enough. And I think the Ravens running the ball, they're in Baltimore. I think Lamar and J.K. Dobbins, I think they can run the ball and score that way. I like the Packers secondary on the Ravens weapons, but Mark Andrews might be a mismatch. So I'm going to take the Ravens there. Browns Packers. I think the Packers are going to lose two straight. You might call me crazy, but I think the Browns are going to beat them because the Browns got a lot of defensive talent back or on their team now. They got a good secondary now, plus a stronger front with Garrett and Clowney, and then the secondary with Denzel Ward and what's Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, the second out there with Troy Hill in the slot, John Johnson at safety. And it's mainly because of the Browns' firepower on offense. That offensive line is going to bully that Packers defensive line. They're going to be able to move the ball and score, and they have enough talent to slow the Packers down. So I think the Browns are going to win. Then Lions, Packers. I think the Packers are going to rebound here and finish with a 13-4 record. We already talked about Packers, Vikings, and the Vikings part. Again, I just like the Packers coaching staff and their roster versus the Vikings. But Lions, they're going to get scored on a lot. You don't have the offensive weapons to really compete with the Packers. So 13-4 with Aaron Rodgers as the starter. 49ers football team, Browns and Ravens, possibly Chiefs. The Cardinals are tough games. These could all change, but Rams tough game. But this is how I stand right now with the Packers, a 13-4 record. Is it going to be enough for one seed? I don't know. But we got the Bears next. So the Chicago Bears, week 1 versus the Rams. I'm sorry, that's an L. The Bears have struggled with the Rams in recent memory because I think the Rams are going to be able to score on them. The Bears secondary, I don't really trust it. And the Rams just have a lot of offensive weaponry to do that. And they have the quarterback, Matthew Stafford, now with Sean McVay. Justin Fields could have an impressive debut, but I think Jalen Ramsey could just take Robinson right out of the game. So I like the Rams there. And then week 2, Bears versus Bengals. This is where I like the Bears to win. Khalil Mack attack, Akeem Hicks up front, I think can generate some pressure and try to disrupt Burrow and from throwing the ball because those receivers are really going to burn that secondary. But it's like, does that offensive line produce enough time? But really, Justin Fields and company, I think that they're going to give Justin Fields enough time to operate. So I think the Bears can win that game. Browns, Bears. I take the Browns. I think those receivers are going to get open on that secondary. Their offensive line is going to protect Baker well. I think that offensive line creates holes. I think they're going to be able to run that offense quite well. And then that defense is going to be able to slow down the Bears there. So I like this for the Browns. Lions versus Bears. Bears get back on track. I think the Bears can just score on the Lions, and Lions just, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up. Those receivers and Jared Goff might be able to get open and make some things work, but I think the Bears are going to be able to stop the run and score points. Raiders, Bears. The Raiders' offensive line is a huge question mark. Are they going to be able to run the ball? I don't really know. I don't really know. That Raiders secondary or that Raiders defense is all over the place. They got better with pass rush, but they made the interesting call. They got Trayvon Moehrig in the draft, but they got the interesting Alex Leatherwood pick. So I'm going back and forth. The Raiders have really good weapons, though. Really good receivers, tight end, running back. But it's like that defense, are they going to be able to do that? Ooh, I'm going back and forth. I mean, that Bears secondary isn't really well equipped to handle the Raiders. Neither is the Raiders secondary that well equipped to handle the Bears. Um, I'm gonna give this one to the Bears because I think they just have just enough talent up front, and they're gonna be able to score enough with Justin Fields to beat the Raiders. Packers Bears, we already explained that. Um, games already explained. We're just gonna skip them. But Bears Buccaneers here. I'm going to take the Buccaneers. I don't really think that's going to be a question. The Buccaneers just have talent everywhere. That Tom Brady is just going to have a field day. That offensive line struggled when they first played, and the Bears beat them last year somehow. But with that secondary the Bears have, I think Brady's going to be able to rip that apart. And it's going to be a field day for them. So Bears beat the Buccaneers. I think quite easily. So the 49ers and the Bears. Ooh, I'm feeling the Niners. I think Kyle Shanahan can scheme up some stuff for Trey Lance. Trey Lance versus Justin Fields should be a fun one, but I think Trey Lance gets the first one up on the board and has the 49ers rolling over the Bears. Bears Steelers. Another very interesting one. The Bears are going to probably be able to generate pressure on Big Ben, and the Steelers are probably going to struggle to run the ball, so that's why I'm going to pick the Bears. I don't know, man. The Steelers and the Bengals and the those teams got to win some games. The Lions, they got to win some games, but these are just bad matchups for them right now. And the Bears are probably going to have a tough time with that defense, but it's going to be a defensive game, but I think the Bears just have the better offense. Ravens, Bears. I like the Ravens here. Um, I do. The Bears are coming off a bye, but that Ravens secondary is going to be able to lock them up, and Lamar and that offense, I think, is going to find success versus the Bears. Lions, Bears. Do the Lions come up with an upset? Like, do they or do they not? Like, I don't know, man. I think I'm going to take the Bears. They're just the better team. Uh, that Lions offensive line is going to be able to create enough time, but those receivers, I mean, I think Jared Goff could hit some receivers open. Um, you know what? I think it might be an upset just because of the Bears secondary and Jared Goff's new shiny offensive line. Uh, they're facing weak secondaries. The Lions might be able to pull some things out, but uh, that they're gonna have to keep up with Fields and company. I'm back and forth on this one. Um, I'm gonna say Lions for now, but things may switch. Then Cardinals, Bears. No bias here, but I'm taking the Cardinals because the DeAndre Hopkins and Rondale Moore and AJ Green and they're gonna feast. They're gonna feast on that secondary. Murray running around, I think is gonna be good. The Cardinals have a pretty good offensive line. Uh, the defense, I think, is going to do a good job on the Bears. So, Cardinals, I got them. We already explained the Packers Bears thing. Vikings have them beating the Bears because I like their offensive firepower versus that Bears defense that's losing talent and regressing. Bears versus Seahawks. This one's interesting. Russell Wilson's receivers are going to be getting open, but I think so is Justin Fields. It's just the Bears have the better offensive line, and the Seahawks are gonna try to run the ball, but Roquan Smith and that interior defense is gonna be able to do a good job on that. So I mean, if Russell can buy himself some time and throw, it could be good for Seattle. But I think Seattle's going to pull out the win because of that defense. Could be up and coming. It's just that cornerback secondary group is the one that's kind of concerning. But I think that front can do enough for Seattle to pull out a win. Khalil Mack in that pass rush, though, is going to be a problem. And then the Bears versus the Giants. The Giants, it's Daniel Jones, and it's one more one more go at it. But those receivers are going to be running free against that secondary. But I don't think Saquon's going to be able to get much going behind that offensive line, although he could. But that defense is up and coming. I like the Giants here to beat the Bears. The Giants have talent on defense with Bradbury and stuff like that. So I have the Bears going 5-12 These records are weird. This could change, but again, the NFC North just has a tough schedule in front of them. A lot of tough teams. And then finally, we got the Lions. I'm not going to go over the divisional game. Week 1, Niners lose. It's just the better team. The Lions' offensive line's their strength, but that's really like their only strength. That tight end, running back with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, but I think the 49ers can take that away. Packers, Lions, we already went over this. Ravens, I think, can beat the Lions because Lamar and that offense is going to be able to score on that secondary. I mean, Jeff Okudah, X Factor. Can he step up to the plate? Um, I don't know, but Ravens, Lamar in the secondary covering those receivers. I like that. Bengals, Lions. Oh, who do we pick here? The Jared Goff versus Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is going to be able to score quite a bit. So I actually kind of like that for the Bengals. I think their offensive line can hold up just enough because the Lions don't really have too great of a pass rush. But I think those receivers are going to be running free. And I think Jared Goff's going to have a lot of time to throw too. But it's just, again, are those receivers going to be able to create enough separation? I don't know. Then the Rams here, I got them beating them because that defense is going to lock up that receiving core. And Jared Goff facing his former team, and Matthew Stafford facing his former team, I think is going to score too many points. I don't think the Lions are going to be able to keep up. Lions Eagles. I think Lions could pull up a potential upset versus the Steelers or the Eagles because that offensive line can protect. The Eagles got Devontae Smith with Jalen Hurts, so that could be the thing. I think Eagles win this game. I'm gonna switch this. I think Eagles win this game, and I think Lions win this game. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna switch this up because I think Jared Goff's gonna have enough time to find his guys because of that protection, and Trey Flowers could do some wrecking here. I don't. No, it's not a tie. I'll switch it back to the Bengals. I'm just gonna switch this Eagles. I'm just thinking back and forth here. But I think the Eagles are gonna be able to win this game. Because of Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. I think that's going to be quite the connection. Jared Goff might be able to find receivers for touchdowns, but I think that's going to be an Eagles win. Then Lions, Steelers. I think the Steelers are actually going to be able to come out with that victory because they're facing a weaker front and their defense is still really talented, and they have good players at the skill position to win that game. Then you have the Browns. They're just much, much, much better team. And I think the Browns are going to be able to pull this one out. So I got the Browns winning there. We got them splitting with the Bears. They could split with the Vikings, but I just don't see it. Broncos, Lions. This one's interesting. The Broncos either have Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater starting. Those receivers are going to get open, and they're going to have an easy time, but Jawan James just tore his ACL. Their inside linebacking core isn't looking too great. They have a lot of corners, a lot of good corners, and that secondary could match up well. But I think the Lions are going to run the ball. I just think it's a bad matchup. I think the Broncos are just going to be able to win this game and do that. Cardinals, Lions. I'm going to go Cardinals because this one's always a classic. But the Cardinals are just a really good team, and they're going to be able to pressure Goff enough. I think their secondary is good enough to slow them down. And then the Cardinals on offense are just going to score a lot of points. Lions, I'll give you a win here. I'll give you a win versus the Falcons. It's going to be a high scoring game. I think the Falcons could win, but I mean, there is always the upset win. There's always the surprising win, no matter what. And I think the Lions are going to pull off two of those. So I think they're going to beat the Falcons because their defense lacks talent. But again, who knows? And then Seahawks, Lions. Ooh, Lions could upset Seattle, but I'm just going to go with the Seahawks. They're just a better team. Russell Wilson's going to be able to cook like he wants to. And the Lions are facing a team that can play defense that they've shown last year. So I think that's going to be that for the NFC North. So I got the Packers 13-4, Vikings 7-10, Bears 5-12, and Lions 2-15. If Aaron Rodgers leaves the Packers, then I will redo the Packers predictions of this. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Like and subscribe. Join my Discord. Join it because we're trying to start a CFM, man, by June 16th, and I only have one other PlayStation 4 guy in there. There's only about like 10 people in there still. So I need more of you guys to join. We got football talk. We got Madden talk. You can play with me. You can be in a video. I'm doing some IRL videos with some guys in the Discord. So if you want to join. So, we got NBA and NFL talk in there. So link is going to be in the description and in the pinned comment and in my past few videos. But thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Road to 300. Let me know if you guys want single teams or division predictions. That's that. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.